Ever had a neighbor who thinks they own your property too? When HOA President Karen parked a wedding limo in my driveway without permission, I had enough. So I blocked it with my boat. Now her daughter's wedding was in trouble. She should have asked nicely first. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. I never thought I'd be at war with my neighbor, but here I am with a boat parked sideways across my driveway, blocking a fancy white limousine that doesn't belong to me. Let me tell you how I got here. My name is Mike. I've lived in Sunny Creek Estates for 5 years. It's a nice neighborhood with big houses, clean streets, and unfortunately, a homeowners association, HOA, that loves to make rules about everything. The head of our HOA is my next-door neighbor, Karen Wilson. Karen is exactly what you'd expect. Mid-50s, perfect blonde hair, always wearing expensive clothes and constantly complaining about everyone else's homes. She's given me tickets for leaving my trash can out 1 hour too long, for grass that was half an inch too tall, and for washing my car in my driveway on a Sunday. Apparently that's against the rules. But we had a bigger problem. Karen hated my boat. I bought a 24-foot fishing boat last year. It was my dream purchase after saving for years. I keep it parked beside my house most of the time, but sometimes I need to move it to my driveway when I'm cleaning it or getting it ready for a trip. That boat is an eyesore, Karen told me one day, standing at my property line with her arms crossed. The HOA rules clearly state that no boats can be visible from the street. I showed her the rulebook. Actually, it says boats can't be parked on the street. Mine is on my property. Her face turned red. Well, we'll see about changing that rule at the next meeting. That was our relationship. Cold War with occasional battles. I followed all the actual rules and she tried to make new ones to target me specifically. Things got worse when my brother decided to get married. He asked if the wedding party could get ready at my house since I had the biggest place among our family. I said yes, of course. The wedding was scheduled for this Saturday and I was excited to help. The drama started Friday evening. I had moved my boat to the driveway since I was planning to take it out Sunday morning after the wedding. I was cleaning it when Karen marched over. "What is this?" she demanded, pointing at my boat. "It's a boat, Karen," I said calmly. "Same one I've had for a year. You can't have it in your driveway overnight. There's a wedding at my house tomorrow and this looks terrible." "Wait, what? A wedding at her house?" "My daughter is getting married in our backyard tomorrow," she said, her voice rising. "We've been planning it for months. I sent notices to everyone. I never got any notice, but that wasn't unusual. Karen often forgot to include me in neighborhood communications." "I'm sorry about that," I said, not really sorry. "But my brother is also getting married tomorrow, and the wedding party is getting ready here. So my boat will be gone by tomorrow afternoon." Karen's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. "Move it now. My daughter's guests will be parking on this street tomorrow, and we need it to look perfect." "No," I said simply. "It's my driveway and my boat. I'll move it tomorrow as planned." She stormed off, muttering about calling the HOA board for an emergency meeting. I just shook my head and went back to cleaning my boat. Saturday morning, I woke up early to finish preparations for my brother's wedding party. They would arrive around 10 a.m. to get ready, and then head to the church for a 2 p.m. ceremony. When I stepped outside at 7 a.m. with my coffee, I froze. There was a massive white limousine parked in my driveway, right behind my boat. It was blocking me completely. I walked around it in disbelief. Who would park a limo in someone else's driveway? Then I saw the just married sign lying on the back seat, not yet attached to the car. Karen. Of course it was Karen. I marched next door and knocked hard on her door. She answered in a bathrobe, looking smug. "Yes. There's a limousine in my driveway," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Oh, that's for my daughter's wedding. The driver needed somewhere to park it until the ceremony this afternoon. Your driveway was available." "No, it wasn't available. I never gave permission for anyone to park in my driveway. You need to move it now." She smiled sweetly. "The driver won't be back until 1 p.m. He had to go home and change into his uniform. Nothing I can do until then." Before I could argue, she closed the door in my face. I stood there fuming. My brother's wedding party would be here in 3 hours, and now I had both my boat and a stranger's limousine taking up my entire driveway. The wedding party wouldn't have anywhere to park. I tried calling limo companies in our area, but without knowing which company it was, I couldn't get anywhere. I even called the police, but they said it was a civil matter since it was on private property, and suggested I have it towed. The towing company said they'd need at least 4 hours on a busy Saturday, and would charge me over $200. Plus, they weren't sure they could tow a limo without damaging it, which could leave me liable. I was trapped. Or was I? Looking at the situation, I realized something important. The limo was behind my boat, but my boat was hitched to my truck. I could move my boat, or I could use it differently. A plan formed in my mind. A beautifully petty plan. I carefully backed my truck up and repositioned my boat. Instead of leaving it pointing straight out of the driveway, I turned it sideways, completely blocking the limousine. There was no way that limo was leaving my driveway unless I moved my boat first. Then I unhitched the boat from my truck, leaving it exactly where it was, and parked my truck on the street. The boat wasn't going anywhere without being hitched to a vehicle again. I stood back and admired my work. The limousine was completely trapped by my legally parked boat on my own property. Karen might have thought she was clever, but I was ready for this game. At 9:30 a.m., as I was setting up refreshments for the wedding party, my doorbell rang. It was Karen, now dressed in a fancy outfit and looking furious. "What have you done?" she demanded. "I rearranged my property on my property," I said calmly. "Is there a problem?" "You've blocked in the limo. The driver just called and said he can't get it out." I shrugged. "That's strange. Someone blocked my driveway with a limo earlier. Weird day for everyone, I guess." "This isn't funny, Mike. My daughter's wedding starts at noon. The limo needs to be at our house by 11:30 to take her to the venue." "Oh, I thought the wedding was in your backyard?" Her eye twitched. "The ceremony is at the country club. I never said it was in my backyard." "Well, you shouldn't have lied about the notice either. Or parked a limo in my driveway without permission." "Move your boat now," she screamed. "I can't," I said. "The wedding party for my brother will be here any minute. I don't have time to deal with boat logistics right now. I'll call the police." "Go ahead." "I already did. They said it's a civil matter since the limo is illegally parked on private property." "My property." She stood there fuming, opening and closing her mouth like a fish. Finally, she tried a different approach. "Please," she said, forcing the word out. "My daughter's wedding day will be ruined." I thought about it for a moment. I wasn't heartless. This wasn't the daughter's fault. "Okay," I said. "I'll move my boat, but on two conditions." "What?" she asked suspiciously. "First, you sign a written statement admitting you parked the limo in my driveway without permission." "Fine," she snapped. "What else?" "The HOA rules about boats get changed. I want it in writing that I can park my boat in my driveway any time for up to 72 hours without penalty." She looked like she might explode, but after checking her watch, she nodded stiffly. "Fine. Now move it." I quickly wrote up both agreements on paper and had her sign them. Then I hitched my boat to my truck and moved it out of the way. The limo driver, who had been waiting across the street, rushed over and jumped in the limousine. As the limo backed out, I noticed something was attached to its bumper. It was a boat rope, one that looked suspiciously like mine. One end was tied to the limo's bumper, and the other end led to... A horrible scraping sound filled the air as the limo driver accelerated. My metal trash cans, which had somehow been tied to the limo with my boat rope, were now being dragged down the street. "Oops," Karen said with fake surprise. "Someone must have played a prank." She hurried away before I could respond. The limo driver stopped when he heard the noise and got out, looking shocked at the trash cans behind his vehicle. I ran to help him untie them. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I had no idea." "It's not your fault," I assured him. "But you might want to check the limo for any damage before you pick up the bride." He thanked me and drove off, much more carefully this time. I picked up my now-dented trash cans and returned to my preparations, fuming but determined not to let Karen ruin my brother's day. My brother's wedding party arrived soon after, and despite the morning drama, everything went smoothly. They got ready, took photos in my backyard, and left for the church right on schedule. As they were leaving, I noticed unusual activity at Karen's house. People were rushing around and Karen was on her phone, looking stressed. I felt a twinge of guilt, wondering if the limo delay had caused problems for her daughter. After everyone left, I sat on my porch with a cold drink, enjoying the quiet. A young woman in a beautiful but slightly wrinkled wedding dress approached my house. It was Jessica, Karen's daughter. I'd met her a few times over the years and she had always been nice, nothing like her mother. "Hi Mike," she said, looking embarrassed. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course," I said, offering her a seat. "Congratulations on your wedding. You look beautiful." "Thank you," she said with a small smile. "I wanted to apologize for what happened this morning. Mom told me everything after I got angry about the limo being late." "It's not your fault," I assured her. She's been stressed about this wedding for months, wanting everything to be perfect. But that's no excuse for what she did. How was the ceremony? I asked, changing the subject. Jessica laughed. Actually, it was perfect, just not in the way Mom planned. The limo got a flat tire on the way to pick me up, probably from dragging those trash cans. So my husband, came to get me in his old Jeep instead. Oh no, I said, though I couldn't help feeling a little bit of karma satisfaction. It was better, honestly. We had 10 minutes alone before the ceremony, just talking and laughing about the limo. It calmed my nerves. And you know what? Mom was so busy dealing with the limo company that she forgot to criticize my hair or my bouquet or anything else. We both laughed, and I found myself genuinely happy for her. Anyway, she continued, I wanted to give you this. She handed me an envelope. It's an invitation to our reception tonight. Mom doesn't know I'm inviting you, so feel free to say no. I was touched by the gesture. Thank you, Jessica. I have my brother's reception tonight, but I appreciate the invitation. She nodded understandingly. One more thing. The HOA is having an emergency meeting next week. Mom's trying to push through some new rule about boats again. Even after our agreement? You know, Mom, Jessica said, rolling her eyes. But I'm on the board too, and so is my husband. We'll vote against any new boat restrictions. I thanked her, and she headed back to her house, waving goodbye. The following week, I attended the HOA meeting, agreement in hand. Karen refused to look at me as I took my seat. When the topic of boats came up, Karen immediately launched into a speech about neighborhood aesthetics and property values. She proposed a new rule banning boats from driveways entirely. Actually, I interrupted, I have a signed agreement from the HOA president stating that boats are allowed on driveways for up to 72 hours. I passed copies around the room. Karen's face turned red. That was signed under duress. It's not valid. Jessica stood up. Mom, you parked a limo in his driveway without permission. He could have had it towed and ruined my wedding. Instead, he found a compromise. Other neighbors started murmuring and asking questions. The full story came out, piece by embarrassing piece. In the end, not only was my boat agreement upheld, but the board voted to create clearer rules about parking and property rights. They also established a new communication system to ensure all residents received notices about neighborhood events. Karen stormed out of the meeting, but Jessica stayed to thank me again. As I walked home that evening, I noticed Karen in her driveway, examining a scratch on her car. I could have kept walking, continued our war. Instead, I stopped. Need help buffing that out? I asked. I have some good tools in my garage. She looked surprised, then suspicious, but finally nodded. That would be helpful. It wasn't quite friendship, but it was a start. Sometimes justice doesn't have to mean burning bridges. Sometimes it just means establishing boundaries and earning a little respect. And keeping your boat exactly where you want it.